Hello, my name is Don Ayres. I'm the Technical Manager for the Ladder Association. The Ladder Association, formerly the BLMA, has been delivering safety information, training and technical support for the use of ladders and step ladders for over 50 years. With the introduction of the work at height regulations in 2005, specific requirements for the use of ladders arrived in the workplace. In cooperation with the Health and Safety Executive, the Ladder Association has sought to provide an improved understanding of these requirements and how to go about ensuring that these requirements are met fully and safely. I'd like to spend a few minutes today talking about some of the issues regarding the use of ladders and step ladders that we often get asked about. The work at height regulations permit that ladders can be used for access and egress, ladders can be used to work from, and ladders can be used where the task or series of tasks is of low risk and short duration. As with all work at height, using any type of access equipment, you will need to carry out a risk assessment before you start. The difference with the risk assessment for the use of a ladder is that it must specifically demonstrate that the use of other types of work equipment, access equipment, which provide collective fall protection, is not justified because of A, the low risk, and B, the short duration of use or existing features on site which cannot be altered. As an example, equipment with collective fall protection, such as mobile towers, powered access, or fixed scaffolding, has guardrails, which would prevent a fall. This equipment is considered to be preferable to equipment which does not, which includes ladders, and which require you to take other measures to reduce the risk of a fall. So what is low risk? Ladder Association and HSE guidance considers ladders are suitable for light work only, that is work which is not strenuous or heavy. How do you assess that? You need to consider the weight and dimensions of any tools or materials and any actions or forces necessary to carry out the task. If any materials or tools weigh more than 10 kilograms, then you'll need to carry out a detailed manual handling assessment to prove that a ladder is suitable equipment. If the actions and forces you are required to make to carry out the task are strenuous or significant, then you should not be using a ladder. Low risk will always require you to have a safe and secure handhold available. On a leaning ladder, when climbing and descending, you must have one hand free to grip the ladder. You should have 3 points of contact, that's hands and feet. Nothing else will do, no hips, knees, elbows or stomachs. At the working position, the vital thing is that a safe handhold is available at all times. HSE guidance states that on a ladder where you cannot maintain a handhold other than for a brief period of time, other measures will be needed to prevent a fall or reduce the consequences of one. So, if there is always a safe handhold available, and the nature of the work is light and the duration of the task is short, and you take special measures including tying in the ladder securely and using additional suitable personal protection equipment that will prevent a fall, then you could work two-handed on a leaning ladder in some circumstances. On a step ladder, where you cannot maintain a handhold, for example when changing a light bulb or fitting a smoke detector, then you can carry out the task as long as you have justified it by taking into account the short duration, the low height, the light nature of the work, and the availability of the safe handhold throughout the task. What is short duration? Up to 30 minutes for a single task. You can undertake a series of tasks. In fact, you can use a ladder all day for short duration, low risk tasks. But if the job means that you're standing on the ladder in the same place, doing the same job for more than 30 minutes, then it's not short duration and you should not be using a ladder. Remember, we're talking about both low risk and short duration, not one or the other. What constitutes features on site which cannot be altered? Well, that could be that you want to go into the back of a middle terrace house and you cannot get powered access through the kitchen, or over the back garden wall, or that you need to get into the roof void through the hatch in the broom cupboard. You can imagine all sorts of situations where the physical layout limits the choice of your equipment, and sometimes a ladder is the only practical solution, and the regulation allows you to select a ladder. When considering the risk associated with a particular piece of work equipment for work at height, you should consider the global risk. That is, the number of people at risk, and remember they may not actually be involved in the task, but they could be affected by it and placed at risk, the length of time they are at risk, and the total severity of that risk. You may also need to take into account the equipment deployment, its use, any dismantling and recovery. As an example, you may need to check a burglar alarm bell box on the outside of a building, 4 meters in height. One person deploys a ladder, climbs the ladder, checks the alarm box, descends the ladder, recovers the ladder. Task is low risk and takes less than 15 minutes. Now let's consider an alternative solution using other equipment. 2 persons deploy and build a mobile tower. 1 person climbs it and checks out the alarm box. 2 persons dismantle and recover the tower. The task takes about an hour. In short, twice as many people are at risk for 4 times the length of time. That's a very simplistic example, but you should consider global risk when you're carrying out your risk assessment. Once you have carried out your risk assessment, and if you have demonstrated that it is right to use a ladder, then you need to ensure that you use the right ladder. British Standard BS 2037 Class 3 domestic ladders should never be used in the workplace. They have a low duty rating and they're not suitable. European Standard EN 131 ladders have a maximum static load of 150 kilograms and a duty rating or maximum working load of around 110 to 115 kilograms. What's the difference between maximum static load and duty rating or maximum working load? If you deduct factors for dynamic and asymmetric forces that occur when you climb and work on a ladder from the maximum static load of 150 kilograms, then the duty rating, the actual maximum working load, is around 110 to 115 kilograms. There's nothing wrong with 110 kilograms, and it's fine for most trade applications. But be aware of the fact, and if you need more capacity, then use a British Standard BS 2037 Class 1 industrial ladder, which has a duty rating or maximum working load of 130 kilos. The work at height regulations requires that any person working at height must be competent. The Advisory Committee on Work at Height Training, ACWAT, has defined a competent person as a person with sufficient professional or technical training and knowledge, actual experience and authority to enable them to 1. Carry out their assigned duties at the level of responsibility allocated to them, 2. Recognise potential hazards related to their work or equipment under consideration, and 3. Detect any defects or omissions in that work or equipment, recognise any implications for health and safety caused by those defects and omissions, and be able to specify a remedial action to mitigate those implications. This includes persons who use ladders, inspect ladders, or specify the use of ladders. They must all be competent and meet these 3 criteria, and they should be able to prove their competence. And if a person is being trained, they must be trained by a competent instructor. A person who is trained as a user or indeed as a supervisor would not automatically be competent to train others, as they may not have been trained or assessed to deliver such training. Training is a key factor in justifying the use of ladders in the workplace. The work at height regulation imposes a hierarchy of measures. First, you must avoid work at height wherever possible. Secondly, if you cannot avoid work at height, then you must use work equipment or other measures to prevent falls. In the case of ladders, training is the significant other measure to prevent falls. Approved and audited Ladder Association training centres with Ladder Association trained instructors to deliver the industry and regulatory recognised Ladder Association training scheme. The Ladder scheme ensures suitable and measured competence through a number of courses. Full details of these courses and contact details for the 56 training centres across the UK and Ayr where they're delivered can be obtained from the Ladder Association website at www.ladderassociation.org.uk. I hope this information has been useful, but if you have any more questions relating to the use of ladders or step ladders, then please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you for listening.